Larry Goldberg, we're going to go off in a little different tangent today because I think everybody's probably heard so much about the big run up this week. And we'll talk about that in a minute. But, I put up a post a couple of days ago and I said, what is the number that it would take for the people that are following me on X? What's the dollar, stock dollar number that it would take for them to have their life changed? And then how would that change their life? And I got lots of great answers. It's really fun to read if people will go watch, go look at my thread. But one of them intrigued me a lot. And this is me. This is really, really me. I'm not as rich as most of the people that are in my thread. I'm not even on the same planet as wealthy as you are, but I have plenty. I have more than enough to see me out. Okay. I do this because it's fun. I like to play. And so I wondered, Larry, you had a post earlier today where you said that you didn't understand people that got out of the stock this week. Just let it go, ride it out. I got out of my leaps because it was going to be fun to get out and then make $1,000 by getting in a little bit lower, maybe. So isn't there a play aspect to this, Larry? You don't need any more money, and yet you're working as hard as you've ever worked.
You know, I don't think money's ever been my motivator. I mean, that not since I was a kid.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I can remember struggling with my recording studio, trying to make money out of it. It's a hopeless task. And being worried about money. And, there were times when business went bad and, we were facing really, really, really serious situations. And then you do worry about money. But, as long as you have a roof over your head and food on the table for the kids and for yourself, I don't think money is a great motivator. I think it's a terrible motivator, actually. So when it comes to stock investment, I treat it with great seriousness. And why do I treat it with great seriousness? Because it's hard enough to make a living. It's hard enough to build a business.
Mm-hmm.
That when you have made a living and been able to put some money away, and when you have run a business and been able to put some money away, and if you have, with luck, sold a business and actually cashed out, it's a terrible travesty to go and squander that money.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so I take investment as an extremely serious activity. I regard it as serious as any other human activity because I regard it as, it doesn't even belong to oneself. It belongs to one's family, and really it it's the focus of the ability to influence life, influence the world for better. So it's a very serious subject to me. It's not a play subject to me. It may be my bringing. My father grew up in the Depression,
Right.
and I'm a child of the Depression.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a child of, immigrants from Russia in the most terrible time
Right.
you can imagine. And then, then these people faced the Depression, and then they faced a world war.
Right.
And so we grew up not cosseted by the shelter of the great American experiment. We grew up, thrust hither and yon across the world,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and eventually arriving in America, finding the stability that there is here, and then building, a business and over time being able to be successful after, struggles, real struggles.
Mm-hmm.
I take this very seriously. So I
So,
may be at a
so
different stage to other people.
Right. So Larry, you never then throw a little money at something because it would be fun.
No,
Never. Okay.
no, fun. For me, fun is building the business, chasing an investment, making a decision about investment, calculating it, making the investment. Sometimes I lose money on investments. I mean, I invest as an angel. As an angel investor, you have to be used to having your heart broken.
Right.
I
Right.
mean, that's just the reality. You get your heart broken. You find a young person who's very keen, very excited, very, very passionate, great idea, and you get swept up by the idea and you finance them. That's kind of the worst case situation because you're going to lose your money 9.9 times out of 10. 1 out of 100 is going to make it. So you have to be extremely cautious about that. I am an easy touch for those people. If they're pursuing something that I'm interested in,
Yeah.
I'm prepared to bet some money where I feel the chances are a little bit better than most.
So Larry, so maybe we're talking definitionally here because you just said it's fun to talk to those people. It's fun to get involved in their product. It's fun to see how they build what they're doing.
Yes. Yeah.
And you basically acknowledging before the company is, I mean, you're handing over a check, which you've basically counted as gone.
Yes. I count it as,
That sounds, that sounds like
it's a
fun
bit,
to me.
it's a bet with a certainty that only 1 out of 10 will work or 1 out
Right,
of 100 will work.
right,
The 1 out of 10 or the 1 out of 100 that works really well and returns a very high level of return.
right.
And so they balance out. That's the calculus.
Yeah. So to me, that sounds like fun. To me, that whole enterprise sounds like fun to be able to put 10,000 or 50,000 or 100,000 into a small company, knowing that I might lose the whole darn thing. I mean, that sounds like a very enjoyable way to spend time after you've sold out your big business.
Yeah, I don't pursue many of those deals. My life right now is spent pursuing, deals perhaps higher up in the so- in
Pain.
the chain. Um, and and right now, I'm more interested in a deal in the $100 million range and the $50 million range, where I'm a smaller component,
Right.
but with a higher level of certainty.
SpaceX, for instance. Anyway, Larry, we have had a wild week. Now we'll come back to the subject everybody cares about. Hopefully, they care about that too, because I really think I really have been devoting a lot of time on my channel as well as on X about this whole matter of what do you do now? There's going to be a lot of Teslanaires. There's going to be a lot more millionaires that are going to be made over the next six.
A lot of them are gonna blow their money.
Some of them are going to blow it. And I've just been interesting to hear what people think that they're going to do and how they're going to handle the wealth because they may not blow the money, but they may blow their life up. Um,
Look, I'll tell you something.
yeah,
I hate this period of these, people, these Teslanaires who are now victorious and who, make these, boastful statements. Uh, I hate it because these are the guys that last round saw,
oh.
you know, blow it.
A year later, 2 years later, they're crying in their beer and they've lost not only their money, but their dad's money.
Giga Texas, when they opened Giga Texas or the Rodeo, whatever it was called, I was on stage at the after part in the thing we did afterwards, and I said to them, guys, get rid of now's the time. Get rid of all your margin.
Yeah.
And I had a friend there who I'd been counseling over some time, and he was very heavily into margin. And I talked him out of his margin, and he got rid of the margin.
Good.
Well, not 2 months after that, he went back in on margin, and he went back to work. I mean, look, he said the blessing was he was able to buy a house and buy his parents a house.
Yeah.
That he kept, but he lost everything else. Had to go back to work with Tesla, actually.
Oh, interesting. How interesting.
Yeah. Look, it's a terrible, terrible crime to make a lot of money in a short period of time, because the punishment is you don't understand the value of it.
Yeah.
And all I was trying to do in the post today is say, guys, don't do it.
Yeah.
But you can tell people, you can explain it to them. It's so difficult for them to actually, and that's why I don't like the idea of it's fun. There's no fun about it.
Okay.
It's desperately, it's desperately serious, because it is really, the difference between one kind of life and another kind of life.
Well,
That's what I'm saying.
yeah, and Larry, on completely different levels, we're not that different. So I have most of my assets are in real estate. My second largest number of assets are in treasuries and very solid, long-term investments. And then I have a piece that's in Tesla stock, and then I have what I call my play money, which is,
And that's fine. That's perfectly valid.
Yeah.
I wasn't talking to you. I was talking to these guys who,
I was kind of throwing out that idea. I was kind of throwing out that suggestion that maybe if you can have some play money, that can be the fun part. Because if you're into numbers and stats, like I know you are and I am, it is kind of fun to wake up in the morning and say, okay, what's going to happen today with that play money? Because I'm not touching the Tesla stock. There's not a chance. It's staying in there for, maybe it'll be inherited by my children.
yeah, I don't think don't think that young people who actively manage their Tesla stock think about, putting a little piece into play money. I think they're thinking of making that big hit. So if they make $1 million, well, if I could make 5 million, if they make 5 million, oh, I got to go after the 10 million. If they make 10 million, I got to go after the 50 or the 100. And that's the stepladder of doom.
Yeah.
People say, oh, it's now at 400. Oh God, the run is over. Maybe if I sell now and it runs back to 100, then I can make that massive. People don't understand the stock's going to thousands of dollars. It's going to thousands of dollars. That's my view.
Right.
If we're right.
Right.
And by the way, it's going to probably go back down to 200 before it goes to 1,000. I know people are saying, no, this is it, blah, 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 blah. No, it's not it. No, it's not it. It's going to go back down. That's it.
And the only disagreement you and I have is I don't think it'll go below 300, but I do believe it could easily go to 300.
You may be right. You may be right. You may be wrong.
Yes,
I may be right. I may be wrong.
right. That's right.
But interesting enough, we both agree it's going to go back down.
Yes.
If you're buying leaps or you're buying on credit, you better be darn sure that whatever you're buying, whatever amount you're buying, you can lose.
Right. That's right.
And if you just sell today, you may be very sorry tomorrow.
Yes. Yeah.
This
And
may go to 600.
however, that does pick up on one of my other rules, though, Larry, is you never cry over a profit.
That's right.
Even if you do sell today.
Oh,
And it goes up.
Absolutely. Absolutely true. Absolutely true. I beg people, You cannot go broke taking a profit.
Right, right. And that you should not be regretful over the fact that you missed the next 20 points.
Or 100 points.
Or 100 points.
1,000 points.
If you have to enter 20 points higher because now you've decided it's still going to go higher and you have to enter 20 points higher, oh well.
Look, the guys I feel for are the guys who boastfully spoke about going short.
Oh, yes.
I mean, I do feel for them. I take some comfort in the fact that most of those boasts were bull.
I think so too.
When people boast about that, they didn't go short.
Yeah.
Or they couldn't go short because they don't have the cover. They don't have the credit line with the brokerage to do it. I mean, people who boast like that generally don't achieve, I don't know. It's not good. I mean, I used to play with the stock and take a little bit of short position prior to earnings announcements because that paid very well.
Yes.
I hated doing that. And then I thought to myself, why am I doing this? Why?
Doesn't even feel good. So did you happen, I didn't have a chance to, I've been so busy all day. Did you have a chance to see the Farzad video with all of the?
I haven't yet. No, I haven't.
A chance to see that.
I'm very excited to do that. Yeah.
Because apparently version 13 apparently is shockingly good, which is why they had, I got 4 or 5 of the different fellows who have 13.
Yeah.
Were comparing notes or whatever on that show. So I got to go back and take a look at that. So if version 13 is this good, you feeling pretty confident now that we'll see unsupervised in the first half of 2025?
I don't know about first half. I'm certain about 2025.
Certain about 2025. Okay.
Yeah, I think that the problem, firstly, there hasn't been a wide release, which is not a good thing.
Right.
I hope that there will be a wide release before the year's end, but I can't be sure of it.
Sure.
So the releases are taking longer than we thought was going to be possible. So I don't think the first half is reasonable. And I wish I had at hand the name of the guy who's doing that table showing, what remains outstanding.
Oh, yeah.
What's passed and and I should have looked it up for the show, but I agree with a few things that are red still, and that is the school bus issue, the sign, mainly specialized sign issues.
Right.
That remain. And I think those are fairly hard problems to solve. So I still remain fairly confident of 2025. I just don't think it's going to be in the first half.
Okay. All right. Okay. So I've been throwing out an idea. There's a video coming on later tonight with Brian Wang in it. We talk about this a little bit, but I haven't had anybody say it this way that I can remember, Larry, and that's with regard to Optimus, that if there's going to be even 1,000, which is Elon's statement, 1,000, he says 1,000 or thousands. We had the engineer the other day say thousands that will be made for the factory this year, that those, if you even have 1,000.
This year, you mean 2025?
I'm sorry. Yeah, it's very close to the end of the year, and it gets fuzzy in the brain. Yeah. And then in 2025, we'll have 1,000 or more Optimi working in the factories. They're not going to be doing one job or 2 jobs or 4 jobs. They're going to be doing many dozens, if not hundreds of jobs. Otherwise, there wouldn't be enough reason for them to exist to do just a few jobs or a dozen jobs.
Right.
So we sometime in 2025, we could be looking at a video of a fly-through through the factory. This is kind of your friend Chris Camillo kind of put me on this idea with his video about a month ago, that you might have a drone fly through the factory showing 1,000, 1,500, whatever Optimi doing every kind of job you can think of in the factory, and that would pretty much light the entire world on fire, I think. I think it would be the biggest news story of 2025.
Yeah, I'm a little bit less optimistic that we're going to get that level of deployment and that wider variety of jobs. I mean, I've walked through robot factories and watched training taking place.
Uh-huh.
And it's right now it's still painstaking. I mean, it is painstaking. You don't just
Training.
train it and then it's done. It's painstaking. And if they get 1,000 manufactured next year, I think that'll be a lot. I don't think they'll be in mass production yet. I think they're equipping the factory and bringing the factory up to full production is going to be a fairly painful process first round. Not as painful as building a car, but painful enough. I think they've still quite a long way to go with the training.
Put some color on that, Larry. So you've been in those factories, you've seen this up close and personal without giving away anything that, you obviously shouldn't. What is the painful part? What is the thing that is holding them back from being able to say, train?
How long has it taken to train the car to drive?
8 years or something. But that's
You just said it, 8 years.
8 years, yeah, okay. But it's got all those environments that it has to be able to operate in.
I think you should not underestimate the challenge of making a general purpose robot do useful work. Look, robots right now are doing useful work. They're doing useful work in BMW. They're doing useful work I mean, I could name quite a few companies. I can't name those companies that I know of, but there are quite a few companies. But the work is far from economic yet. Certainly not at the cost of production right now.
Right.
Yeah, the bill of materials right now are in the 100,000 plus range, maybe 200,000. And it's going to take a lot of work to get that down to the $60,000, $70,000 range, and then even more work to get it ultimately down to the $20,000 range. But the training is heart-renderingly slow right now. Things can change on a dime, but there's some robot companies that have great results and terrible battery life.
Yeah.
So they're products right now that do really great things, but not that good at manipulating their hands, and so the amount of work that they can do is. Optimus is an incredibly, visionary product. It wants to be all things to all requirements, and so I think it's going to be more challenging than most. Tesla, of course, has probably got more firepower behind it than most. And then, so I think there's a lot of work still to be done. Now, we heard that the Tesla robot we saw actually recovering his step, falling down that slope, which was amazing to see.
Absolutely.
We heard that he was blind. So I think for a robot to become sighted, and when you think about the amount of compute needed for that, I think there's so many challenges, and I think there's going to be another iteration of the bot before they start manufacturing it. So I don't know how early in the year it's going to be manufactured. So all of these things, I just want to counsel everybody to be patient. It's not going to happen next year.
Patience, Larry. You're asking the impossible. Patience. What are you even ask for something hard, not something impossible.
Well, just as I'm asking for something impossible, I believe you're asking for something impossible.
Okay. Well, no, remember, Elon is just it just takes longer. It's never impossible with
absolutely right.
Yep.
I mean,
So,
they're gonna crack this. I believe they're going to be the leaders in their field. Um, and I just would take with great caution some of the statements some of the other companies are making.
okay, all right. That's probably good advice. So Larry, one of the things that outside of the specific Tesla world we have is Elon in DC, although it's not yet DC, it's at Mar-a-Lago. But what are you thinking?
Other guys have been to DC.
I think he was the other day, wasn't he? Yeah.
Elon and Vivek were in DC,
So
and
what do
so
you
was X.
Yeah, you see, yeah, so what are you thinking? How are you seeing this as it develops? Are you as excited as everybody else is about this?
I am. I'm trying to be realistic. It's very hard to be realistic. But there are a lot of low-hanging fruit trees, not just fruit. I mean, there are whole forests with low-hanging fruit. Um, there are a lot of political problems, and there are also technical problems. But I'm quite hopeful. I mean, there are a lot of hearts being broken in DC. People go to DC with great plans, but there are a lot of. I mean, we saw the outgoing chairman of the FDIC is it the FDIC? No,
Yes.
it's the
FTC.
Securities Exchange Commission,
Yeah.
SEC, trying to assert authority in the last couple of days of his reign. I mean, what are these guys thinking? They're really thinking they were going to get, Elon to roll over just before they leave town? I mean, come on. I could not believe that. I just couldn't believe they would do. This administration, not previous yet, this administration has been so completely blind as to how bad they look. They just oblivious to how bad they're acting and how bad it looks that they're acting. It's incredible.
Um, I'm impressed with the firepower that is coming in for free. Peter Thiel, Mark Andreessen.
These guys are all there. They want to help. They want to help. They do want to help.
And the firepower is just immense.
Yeah.
And I was listening to Andreessen
And Washington's going to try and break their
break
hearts.
their hearts. But I
Yeah.
was listening that Andreessen was on Free Press.
What an amazing! You need to put the link to that video in the show notes, because that interview is one of the best interviews of the year, and there have been fantastic interviews this year.
And he's talking about the fact that he was one of the people that is interviewing these incoming people. And he's saying they're getting the best and the brightest are
Yeah.
coming for these jobs. And I don't think that's necessarily been true for the last 15, 20 years.
Well, they've got best and brightest, but the best and brightest have come in with very high political ambitions.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the one counteracts the other very strongly. Look, Washington has broken many a young heart. Washington has broken and destroyed many a optimistic heart, and Washington has broken many an ambitious heart, or it's co-opted many an ambitious heart. I'm really hoping that, this is like the young people who came in during Roosevelt's New Deal. I mean, he brought a lot of very, very excited young people, and they started what has now turned to this crud.
Yes.
And not that he did bad. I mean, they were very effective for a while, and they fought a war, they won a war, and then Washington was working very well for a while. But it's all gone to hell. All gone to hell. And I came to America because Kennedy, was calling for young people. And, and Reagan, inspired a lot of people, even Bill Clinton. But ever since then, it's been downhill. And, Mark Andreessen was right. Obama's second term was terrible. And then things were looking up under Trump in those first 3 years. And then we had this terrible pandemic and this last president. So this presidency has been terrible. I mean, probably annoy a lot of people, but I don't care.
So Larry, what would be what's at the top of your list? What is is there one or two things at the top of your list for the administration?
Healthcare is at the top of my list. It's the second, the third, and the fourth, and the fifth.
I see. Everything's healthcare.
I mean, healthcare is such a huge problem.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at my video where I sort of broke up the problem, there are two entitlements. The one is, our retirement system, Social Security is bust, but it's relatively small.
Okay.
Healthcare is a huge number. Now, I know that a lot of people are very concerned about our defense budget, and I don't regard our defense budget as being too much as it's being misspent.
Right.
So we could reduce it and get more effective defense.
Right.
That, I won't say that's less difficult because everything's difficult. I'd say that it is lower hanging fruit, but even that is only $800 billion. I say only $800 billion. It trips over the tongue. Healthcare is like double that, right. Almost double, about 150% of that, and it's growing faster.
Right.
And it's the out years of growth that is so frightening.
Right.
And there are eminent fixes. I have a friend, Dutch Rojas. He's Dutch, and his last name is Rojas, Rojas. People should follow him because he actually has fantastic solutions, real solutions. I mean, I'm not saying, 90% of the solutions that come out of Washington is throw more money at it.
Right.
And that's why we're in the mess we're in. But we have to fundamentally change our healthcare system. And Obamacare was a disaster because it just sped the whole process up and people's healthcare, quality of healthcare declined.
Right, right, yes.
So, but there are low-hanging fruit. There are ways to reform it. It's going to take a terrible political battle to do it. But, if there's one political battle worth Trump putting all his political capital on, it's that one.
Okay. All right. Well, that's good to know. And will you be doing more videos on the healthcare situation, or
I had hoped to, but then I had to interrupt my work to go to Austin, and I was in Austin last week, but I'll return to it. I will. Yeah.
All right. And, I've lost track, Larry, and I know it's not a Tesla story, but on Starship, are we still looking at an early January launch?
Yeah. I mean, they could probably pull it off in December at the rate they're going.
Oh.
I mean, if it wasn't for Christmas,
yeah,
they could have done it in that last week of December at the rate they're going, if things continue going well. So the booster test, the test of the booster, firing all its engines, that seemed to go very well. From all accounts, it went well. Now the ship is being tested. I don't know whether they're going to get it tested I don't think they'll do it on the weekend, but maybe they'll do it on the weekend. Anyway, by early next week, it should be tested. They could put that stack together again by the end of next week.
Wow.
And then the week later, they could be launching it. Now, I doubt whether they'll do it. That's Christmas week, isn't it?
Right.
Yeah, so I don't think they'll do it on Christmas week. And I don't think they'll do it the week after Christmas because that's New Year week. So
Yeah.
Could be the first week of January or the last week of December. Or, if everything goes well, and we don't know how well these things are going to go, but
All
it's
right.
amazing, that, and Starbase is now asking to become a city,
Yes.
which is very interesting because you go and visit Starbase and there's a sign, no toilets, no water, no, you can't do this, you can't do that, but it's going to be a city. Anyway, we'll see.
Well, maybe they'll get some services now.
They're building I think a shopping center, fairly large, and hotel, just a few miles north of Starbase on the road. Right now, that road to Starbase is, it's just a tiny little road, and it's pitted all the way because they have all this heavy traffic with these gigantic bulk tankers and all this. I mean, it's interesting. When I started going there 4 years ago, it was like you had to camp there.
Yeah.
And now there's still no facilities, but there's this massive factory, there's this massive launch complex, there's all these houses. I mean, it's amazing what he's done there, what they've done.
What a time to be alive.
Yeah.
Well, so I know you don't do short-term, thinking, and we just had all that conversation about not timing the market. But would you think, generally speaking, that at least between now and the earnings call, that we might run out of steam a little bit on this advance? Or, I mean, Brian Wang, in about 3 hours, Brian Wang's video is going to come up, and he's going to make a prediction about the end of January that's going to shock people. And he was just right about the 450. So anyway, what do you?
Well, I think January's got it's got some challenges because I think the deliveries are not going to be, I think they're going to be okay. They're not going to be great.
Mhm.
I think the earnings are going to be good. I think they're going to be fine. Yeah, it's hard to tell. It's hard to tell. I think everything depends for the end of January on which Elon shows up in the earnings call. If it's the excited Elon with thumbs up, that would be good. And if their continued good news if the good news continues to flow, if 13 comes in wide release,
Yeah.
all these things could be very good for Tesla, very, very good for Tesla. And if they deliver more than, 10 gigawatts of energy, that would be great. So he could be right. I mean, who am I to tell?
Well, let's go ahead and take a look at what the markets did today, Larry. I don't know if you've been paying any attention today, but it was
Not really.
except for Tesla, it was a very mixed day. So we had the Dow down 86, but we had the Nasdaq up 23. I mean, it was all over the place today.
I have one question.
Yes.
What was Tesla's volume today?
See, you always ask me the thing I don't know.
I can look it up actually very quickly.
Yeah. But Tesla ended up $18 again today, closed at
Yeah, but on what volume? That's the question.
36. And Larry, we keep on getting these little upward ticks at the end of the day, the last 10 minutes. Somebody's in playing in the last 10 minutes.
I imagine it is covering options that were bought in the day.
Mm-hmm.
I imagine that's what it is. Because, whoa, the volume is 82 million, which is 10 million. Well, it's only 5 million more than you see, the 10-day average volume is now 77 million. I mean, $300 billion worth of stock trading hands, more, almost $400 billion worth of stock trading hands on a daily basis. So there has to be a lot of buying of stock to cover options.
Yeah.
And I think that's driving it. So the question is, can it hold? I mean, what we've seen before can certainly hold. It can certainly hold.
Yeah, yeah. I think my comment recently has been that we can we can all differ about the underlying value of the hardware business. Maybe it's $250, maybe it's $300. You know, what is the if you took a good estimate of 2027 sales and profits and brought that back to current value, 250, 300 maybe. The rest of it is sentiment. The rest of it is optionality. And you could put any number you want on that.
Randy, we've been complaining for the last year that nobody's putting value on FSD or Optimus.
Now they are.
Now we are seeing people are putting value on FSD and Optimus. They don't know what it is,
Right. Right.
but they're buying it.
Yes.
And so, you know, the other thing is Tesla Boomer Mama taught us that the funds were underbalanced in Tesla. Now, I don't know if the sudden run-up is enough to offset that, but they've been buying.
Yeah.
People have been buying options, so they've had to cover that. And then the shorts have been covering their shorts. So there's been a lot of upward pressure from these technical, for these technical reasons.
Right.
And so that we could see a softness as a result of that. And maybe the first step down will be the delivery report. And then, you know, if that delivery report results in it meandering down, then it could meander down further until the earnings. And then the earnings could, you know, if we have a very optimistic and excited Elon, wow.
Yeah, yeah, indeed. All right. So after that, in terms of the equities for today, we had the bonds, which is my big worry, Larry. I keep talking about this. You know, it was up another 7 basis points today on the 10-year. We're now at 4.395. So I'm going to make another one of my calls, Larry.
Okay.
10-year bond is a buy, and that's not investment advice. Anybody that's looking for something long-term that they want to get into, that's going to guarantee them 4.4% interest for the next 10 years, well, for however long the bond they buy is. This is now a buy. It doesn't go much higher. We're at the top now.
I think that's a good call. You think the Fed's going to drop the rate again? There's a 98%
Yeah.
certainty.
I changed my mind, Larry. After you and I both agreed on Monday night, on Tuesday, I changed my mind because or Wednesday rather, when the CPI came in only slightly hot, and then the PPI came in even hotter, but not enough hotter, and the employment numbers came in okay, but a little soft. Yeah, they're going to cut next week. But I think they're going to give a hawkish comment in their commenting. They're going to say something about, they're going to give enough of a hint that January is not a sure thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the popular sentiment. We'll see if you're all right.
And the bonds, to me, are saying very loudly, inflation is not cured.
Then why would they cut?
I know. Well, they're cutting because maybe they're a little. So
look, there's no logic to this at all.
Oh, no.
I mean, if we had a fairly hot report.
Yeah.
The bonds are. I mean, we're at 4.4. Functionally, we're at 4.4 on the long bond. I'd be surprised if they cut.
Well, once again, you and I are 100% aligned. The only difference is, well, we're 98% aligned. The only difference is I think they will cut, but I don't think they should. I think they could absolutely not cut this time, but I think they will.
All right. Well, we'll see who's right.
Right. So the oil market was up another buck, back over 70 again to 71 for Texas Intermediate. That seems to be a little bit about more sanctions going in on Russia and Iran. So the Europeans are putting more sanctions on. It must be, again, in anticipation of Trump coming to power. There's so many changes taking place around the world right
He
now.
is already the president,
Already
right?
the president. Yeah. And people are already making decisions based on him
Yeah,
being
based on his presidency. Yeah.
right. And natural gas down 5%, which kind of shocks me because it's
Yeah,
been
but natural gas runs on a pure, day-to-day supply and demand basis.
gold dropped dramatically, Larry.
Really?
I don't know what to call it. It was pushing up against all-time high. It was like at 273, 2,730. It's now down to 2,665. So that's like a 70 points in 2 days.
Something's wrong.
I know, especially with the dollar. The dollar is pretty much flat. I mean, it's high, but it's flat.
Well, it may
And
be a market issue, it may be a technical issue.
and silver followed it almost exactly, dropped from 33 to 31. So in 2 days, copper closely following, down 1.15 today, percent. And crypto, I'm sorry, Bitcoin holding above 100,000 for the weekend here. So 101,200.
Wow.
Yeah. So I don't know what happened to the dollar because the gold was, rushing back up again and then it just stopped. So not sure, Larry.
It's if gold is dropping, is it the Syrian Pax Syriana?
So, yeah, there's peace around the world now. If we get peace in Ukraine before Trump comes into office, that'd be pretty wild. That's kind
Yeah.
of reminds me of Reagan with his
Yeah.
his
The October surprise. No, it's not going to. Yeah, it's not going to happen. There's not going to be peace in Ukraine as long as Putin does not yet occupy the Donbass and all of eastern Ukraine and all of. I mean, he's not going to stop.
you
I
are
don't,
you're betting against Trump. I know we're not supposed to bet against Elon, but you're going to bet against Trump.
yeah, I think it's going to be very difficult.
That'll be a
I,
fun. I mean, it's not
yeah,
fun because it's a war, but I mean to watch the international political aspect of these two guys coming back together again and trying to find a way. Because I don't think I think you might think that Putin wants to continue to fight, but I have a feeling I think if he if he had a way out, he'd take it. I mean, he's having to use Korean troops. The ruble dropped like a rock last week. I mean, things are not exactly going great.
that's why he's not going to end the war while things are not exactly going great. Look, they're going to take Pokrovsk within a month or so. I think that may be the time that he could declare victory.
I see.
But declaring victory will really depend upon firstly driving them out, driving the Ukrainians out of Kursk. Ukrainians in Kursk is a terrible blow to his prestige.
Hmm.
So even taking Pokrovsk now is not enough unless he can drive them out of Ukraine, out of Kursk. And I don't think he yet sees, I think he sees weakness in Europe as being a situation that's good for him. Look, what do I know? I don't know.
All right. Well, we will watch with a great deal of interest as this new president comes on board, and we see so much already happening out there. Larry, as always, thrill a minute to have you on, especially on Friday nights before the weekend. It's great to be able to go over the week and talk about what's taken place. So please have a great weekend.
You too.
All right. And to all of you out there, you too. And it's been great talking to you.